Welcome to Hitachi in Southeast Asia, Social Innovation in Action, where I speak with industry leaders that are tackling society's biggest challenges. I'm your host, Michelle Martin, and today I'm exploring the pressing water challenges facing Asia, where by 2030, the region could face a 40% gap between water supply and demand if current practices continue. Joining me are two experts in the field of innovative water solutions. Mako Kobayashi is General Manager for Water and Environment Business for the unit at Hitachi Asia's Philippine branch. And Gay Santos is the Regional Director for Southeast Asia at water.org. Together, we're going to discuss how technology and innovative practices are helping tackle water scarcity and sustainability in ASEAN. Ladies, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having us. Pleasure to be here, Michelle.
Gay, let me start with you. Give us an idea of how vulnerable this region is to water scarcity and climate change.
Yes. So I will articulate the challenges faced by Southeast Asia. Definitely access to water. Safe water is a challenge. This is brought about by the lack of physical infrastructure and the topology of the countries in itself. Allow me to elaborate on that. For example, Philippines. Philippines is archipelagic. Indonesia is archipelagic, which means it's comprised of several islands. That being said, water service providers as a business will tend to go to the most populated areas. As part of the business, it makes business sense, right? Then how about the other islands comprising the Philippines, which is 7,000 islands in all? And you're talking about even more than 7,000 islands for Indonesia. So it creates a certain degree of inequality in terms of access. There are, of course, you have to tailor the solutions for each of these islands. Then it's a question, how much can everyone invest in terms of physical infrastructure, or are we willing to invest in physical infrastructure? So beyond that, you also have the access to water as challenged by climate change. You've seen severe droughts brought about by El Nino, and then you see the rural areas, the more disadvantaged islands or communities relying on wells. And with El Nino, wells are dried up. Then you think about, okay, energy. You have to go shift clean energy. And then you talk about hydro power. And with El Nino, water levels are beyond normal, below normal. And really, it creates a chain reaction of inequities and problems. And then you have La Nina coming up, and then overflow of water. Then flooding happens, a disaster comes. So it's really a chain of reaction wherein water can really cause a certain degree of inequality, right?
Yeah, I'm glad you bring up equity, and that beautiful pin that you have on reminds us about the 16 SDGs, and water is linked to each one of those 16 if you think about it.
Yes.
Can't have equity if you don't have equal access to water. And, you know, whether it's public or private sectors, lots of people are coming in to try to come up with solutions to solve for water access, water equity. And Marco, I wonder if you can share with us a little bit of the technologies, the kinds of technologies that you are seeing solve for water sustainability.
Sure. Well, for Hitachi, we have a lot of solutions or technologies that we can offer, but let me focus on the three technologies. So one is DX, the digital transformations that we are currently pursuing. So we call it MizuLink. Mizu is coming from a Japanese word water. So we want to link all the technologies that will integrate all the solutions that we are offering in the country. So, for instance, for MizuLink, it's remote monitoring solutions. It's gonna gather a lot of data coming from the systems that we provide, and with that data that we accumulate, we can offer a AI, so artificial intelligence, to support the operators, the engineers, that how to maintain properly, how to operate your solutions properly, that give them the water quality monitoring as well. So when we deliver water, we have to also be in mind that what kind of water are we delivering, right? So the water should be meeting the drinking water standard. So for another solutions that we are offering is the advanced technology for wastewater treatment. So for the wastewater treatment, since the government is mandating a very stringent water quality, effluent water quality in the Philippines, so we have to address that challenge. So what we provide is a solutions that is being R&D in Hitachi, Japan, and we will be bringing in that soon in the Philippines to comply with the Dow standard. We call it Dow standard. It's a removal of nitrification. So that way, whatever we discharge in the river, in the sea, it's protecting the environment, the ecosystem. So the last solutions that we are happy to delivering that soon also in the Philippines is the what we call it new water. It's a recycling water system. The water is coming from treated effluent or treated wastewater. So we don't want to just dispose the treated water from our very high advanced technology, right? It's going to be a wastage. So what we do, we treat it with our new water system with a multi-barrier solutions. We're using reverse osmosis, ultraviolet, AOP system, so on. This going to be another alternative source for a potable reuse, meaning whatever you wasted, we will bring into a life again that is converting into a drinking water.
Just amazing. And this flows from the treatment of effluent water.
That's right.
Quite naturally. So instead of just disposing the once effluent water,
Yes.
you've restored it
Yes.
to such a degree that people can then
Drink. That's right.
absolutely amazing. Gay, how do you see technology being used to help the various regions that water.org serves?
So we have over around 2 billion people who lack access to safe water. 110 million of those are in Southeast Asia. We definitely leverage on our partner in terms of technological solution. For example, we have worked with partners that provide solutions for non-revenue water. Non-revenue water means you're trying to track the leaking pipes, which helps them really use the resources more efficiently if they're able to track where the leakages are. We also, in terms of access to finance, $4 trillion per year is needed to meet the Sustainable Development Goals, and 140 billion per year just to address Sustainable Development Goal number 6. That being said, we are leveraging not just with the traditional financial microfinance institution, but also working with digital banks. Because they can explore the far-flung islands in terms of offering the financial products, because their transaction cost is low, which is not going to be normally undertaken by a regular financial institutions because it's just too far. They can't build the physical infrastructure to be able to lend to the people. That being said, we're also looking at payment system. If you have payments as a technology, it's easier for the water utilities to collect payments. At the same time, they're able to create some kind of data that they can rely on in terms of that will feed into their marketing strategy and other strategies they want to implement in their business. And of course, there's technology, like Mako said, on looking at the operational efficiencies of water utilities that's integrated in their operations. It can feed into their management information system, making it more easy for them to make strategic decisions.
Fantastic. So a whole suite.
There's a whole suite of technological solutions.
Incredible. How important would you say technology is in the piece of unlocking finance to solve for water equity?
So for example, if you're talking about payment system, normally the most challenged are the ones who are the lower income families, close to the base of the pyramid. They don't have the initial credit footprint. But if you have a payment system platform for water utilities, they're able to create a data on their payment behavior. And that in itself can feed into their credit history, and which they need to access finance, right?
Great point. Mako-san, What do you think are the biggest challenges and opportunities of ensuring long-term water sustainability here in Asia?
So the key challenges that probably we're facing for a water crisis is the rapid urbanization and the climate change. So for rapid urbanization is the cause of maybe the pollution, the water pollution, because if without the proper urban planning, it will affect definitely the drainage, the pipelines or the wastewater that, it doesn't go properly to the waste treatment plant, but it just directly discharged to the river or the sea. So that's where Hitachi can come in. What we really want to pursue in a long term for the future is the contribution to the urban planners, so the master planners, where we can integrate the water solutions, or we called it smart water integration solutions. For example, I mentioned earlier, there's advanced technology for the wastewater treatment. We also do recycling water through the treated water from the wastewater, right, which is the new water. But we never stop there. We also consider conserving water from the rain, the storm harvesting. As Hitachi, we can provide the wastewater treatment through the advanced technology. And the wastewater that we treated, we can bring into the recycling water system. So we always think as a whole package. It's a one package of solutions that we always should consider. And of course, for the climate change, as I mentioned earlier, we use MISOLINK to monitor the water quality. So not only the water quality, but how we do supply to the people. So we can use the technology to deliver the sufficient water that is required in that certain area by monitoring it in a single platform. So we never stop evolving or innovating in terms of MISOLINK. There's a lot of technology that's available in the market. Hitachi is very open to collaborating with those IT providers or a platform, a digital solutions provider, because we believe that each and every one of us have the strength to, and have a purpose to address this water crisis. So yes, that's where we want to, our direction is going to.
We know this is a huge problem and that private and public partnerships need to come together. What do you see, Gay, as the bottlenecks and challenges for dealing with the long-term issue of water sustainability in this part of the world?
So it's very refreshing to hear. It seems like you have a very comprehensive, forward-looking thought process and solution for water at Hitachi. And I mentioned earlier, we have like $4 trillion to meet sustainable development goals, the 17 sustainable development goals, and 114 billion to meet SDG 6, which touches on water. There are a lot of concerted efforts, but it's fragmented. So there needs to be one cohesive way of addressing public, private sector, countries globally should come together to have that one cohesive vision in addressing this global issue. Financing is really a big challenge. You can only do so much if you're gonna do it by yourself, or government cannot do it alone. So if you think about the $4 trillion looking at SDG 17, that only constitute 1% of the global wealth. Then how come it's not happening? It's not happening. It's like a race towards 2030. Really, we need to come together. Public sector, private sector, philanthropic funds. We need to pool our resources towards one direction, not fragmented approach. It really helps to have that shift in mindset, the vision, and the commitment to keep pressing forward. I really love the mindset of corporate water stewardship. Yeah, which was I think this is coming out of the CEO of Waruman Water, and it's about using water in a socially equitable way, environmentally sustainable way, and economically beneficial. So private sector should have that mindset. It's not, you talk about CSR, water cannot just be a check in the box. It has to be really second nature to think about sustainability, and addressing the water crisis is the intersection of addressing so many SDG goals. We talk about gender, women, 200 million, women and children, 200 million hours per day globally to fetch water. You address water, you address the gender issue. You address water, you address food security. And it can go on and how water can be that intersection.
And when you say that, you talk about the trillions needed in this area, because it's such a big problem, the flip side of that is it's also a big opportunity for businesses.
The challenges is the source of opportunities.
Right.
So the financing gap, financial sector should step forward. Of course, at the end of the day, it's their due diligence or this appetite, but the opportunity is there. We've seen working with microfinance even during the pandemic. Again, at the end of the day, it's their risk appetite. But data shows that the NPLs, even during the pandemic, of loans associated with borrowing for water and sanitation is nearly zero. And then you have women as borrowers, 99% repayment rate. So because you're puzzled about this, because you're talking about these women coming from that situation of fetching water several hours a day. They don't want to go back to that situation. This is the sustainable path for them so that they can shift the hours spent to fetch water, to devote it to contributing to the household income, or even spending more time to help the kids in their homework. So it's really an opportunity for the financial sector, an opportunity too for companies like Hitachi to think about affordable, innovative solutions. And that's really something that's really lacking still in this sector. So I think that those are among the opportunities. And again, it's an opportunity for public and private sector to really work together for common good.
Mako, we know that innovation is key to tackling future challenges when we talk about water and climate change. Can you share with us some insight into Hitachi's roadmap for dealing with water and sustainability and the future?
So I think worth noting that Hitachi's mission is contributing to the society through the development of superior original products and technology. So we never stop innovating. As a water business, we really pursue on understanding the challenges that our customers is facing, and of course our society. As I mentioned earlier, we have the Mizzlink, Pegasus as a wastewater technology treatment and recycling water, right? But for Mizzlink, we will just never stop on remote monitoring, just a remote monitoring system. We will also we will further accelerate in gathering all the data, turn into a artificial intelligence that we can support the society in addressing their challenges through the data that we have gathered. So we will understand where is the challenges, where is the pain points, or where we can contribute our knowledge and know-how in terms of the technology. For the second is of course the green transformation. As mentioned by Gay, desalination is very expensive and it requires a lot of power. So the green transformation will come in here. We will equip with the renewable energy such as solar panel that will support the power consumptions that the desalination is creating. In that way, we're not only saving the energy, but we're also saving the environment.
Yeah, it sounds like an integrated solution.
Yes. So that's the integrated solutions that we can offer to the islands that cannot reach, that has no access to the power, no access to the clean water. So that's what we really envision moving forward.
Gay, let me come to you. What is it going to take in your point of view, from your point of view, to make sustainable water a reality, a sustainable water future for us all a reality?
Yes. So thank you for that question, Michelle. As I've mentioned, the financing gap is huge to make it happen for 2030. You're talking about $4 trillion. Affordable, innovative solutions are needed, both as a financial product to reach the last mile to help the lower income households to access safe water. And on the technology side, I'm glad to hear all this diversity of technology solutions from Hitachi, but I think it's a means to an end. We need to contextualize it. And I'm glad to hear about the modular approach and the rainwater harvesting, because it's not always the fancy high-tech things that are needed to solve the water access in a particular island or particular province. Sometimes it's a simple rainwater harvesting product that can work. So we have to contextualize, leveraging on technology to achieve sustainable access to water. We want to have a cohesive approach. It cannot be fragmented. We're up against time. Water crisis is not a brewing crisis. It is a crisis now. So we need to act together. It's not a government accountability alone. So I call to the private sector, including Hitachi, to really have that focus and commitment to solve the water issue globally. That being said, corporate water stewardship mindset, using water in a socially equitable way, environmentally sustainable way, and economically beneficial for all. Again, going back to, it's not just government's accountability, it's not just the private sector, not only the NGOs, but it's the individual accountability as global citizens. As Mahatma Gandhi said, the earth, the land, the air, water is not an inheritance from our forefathers. It's a loan from the future generation, for our children. So the least we can do is to really hand it over to the next generation in the same manner that we have received it, or even better.
Well said. Mako-san, we talked about corporate stewardship of water. You talked about the data-driven solutions that Hitachi is providing to the corporate world. What else would you like our listeners and our viewers to know about the importance of water sustainability?
Yeah, so as what Gay mentioned, of course, every drop counts, right? So we really need to be intentional in conserving water. We can start from our home, right? Together with our family, with our relatives, and all the villages. So we're the simple, but it really the impact is very huge for you're keeping the water supply. But of course, policy making is something that we also need to consider. We understand the desalination is expensive, but it's not just a solution like immediate solutions that we want to address. It's a long-term solutions that we want to focus on. So if the collaborations can be done with our government, the policymaker, the stakeholders, this is something that we can really change the world in a sense that we can provide the sustainable water source through a collaborative discussions with those stakeholders. Through the collaborative discussion, and we will be able to craft this policy that is beneficial not only for the citizen, but also for the private companies, for the organization, for the water.org that been supporting for the financial side of for the society. So this is something that everyone will benefit. Everyone, and not only the current generations, but the future generations will also benefit on that. So yeah, that's something that we really want to pursue.
Beautifully said. And I'm glad you mentioned stakeholders, because I'm going to speak to them now. I hope today's conversation with Mako Kobayashi from Hitachi Asia and Gay Santos from water.org inspired you to think about the critical role of innovative water solutions in addressing Asia's water challenges. Thank you so much for being part of Hitachi in Southeast Asia, Social Innovation in Action. Stay connected with us for more discussions on impactful ideas. Until next time, I'm Michelle Martin. Thank you so much for your company.